Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and cheapos, to the Tokyo Cheapo Podcast. This is the first episode of our reboot. It's been a rather long hiatus, I think. But before we get into that, I'm Chris Kirkland, the infamous cheapo, and here we have...
I'm Greg Lane. I'm actually the infamous cheapo. You're the notorious cheapo.
I'm sure you're the notorious cheapo.
I think it's been so long that you've actually forgotten.
Where did these titles come from originally?
We just made them up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So they're subject to change since you invented them.
Well, I guess they're reputation based, so I guess
okay.
They can change.
So you've earned them. And I'm Taryn Siegel. Nice to meet you all.
Taryn is our producer. It's his legit podcast now. So, we decided to reboot, and apologies for our podcast fans who have been disappointed with our silence, but we were busy doing a YouTube channel instead. So now we're broadcasting on YouTube and on the audio waves. So in a little bit, we'll be sitting down with our guest for the week, Alvin Cheung. I shall save a long introduction for when he actually sits down. But in the meantime, how are you guys?
Pretty good. Very excited to start.
Nah.
Greg is unhappy.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Break down for us?
No. I've just had a hard start to the week, but I'm good.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited. So two excitements to one.
To one meh.
Yeah.
Balances out.
Marvelous. So let's do our Tokyo stories. Hopefully a regular feature of the show. We're going to recount some anecdotes from our last week or two in Tokyo.
Or something in the news that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anything's on the table.
And Taryn, producer, do we do this in alphabetical order or?
I don't know. Whoever wants to start. Greg, do you want to start?
I can start.
All right. Greg's going to start.
Okay.
What do you got for us?
We got quite an interesting contact on the website this week. It was from an interesting group. They're called the Tokyo ET Contact Group. So basically what they do is they organize events in kind of dark sky areas in Japan. So the idea is they go to these places and they play drums and they ring bells and they shine lights and they communicate with the aliens.
What?
So yeah, it sounds quite fascinating.
What is their mechanism for making contact? What are the drums doing?
I think basically they're just kind of hedging their bets. They have pretty much every kind of mechanism you can think. They've got electronics. They've got they do meditation to communicate with the Intergalactic Council.
The Intergalactic Council.
Yes.
How do they know what the political structure is?
I don't know. They've obviously they're a bit more enlightened than us. So,
oh right.
Yeah.
Any of them members of the council?
No, I think
subsidiary.
No. I think maybe that's their end goal is to get onto the council. So they're pretty much like auditioning at the moment.
So they go to abandoned, pretty isolated places in Tokyo, so that there's not a lot of
not so much in Tokyo, more in the countryside. So they have an event coming up in Chiba, on the beach. So
really?
I think the idea is it's supposed to be somewhere that's really dark and they can easily see the spaceships and stuff.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, that's my story.
That's fascinating. So they have an event coming up in Chiba where they're going to be doing this drum circle ET contact thing.
Yeah.
Welcoming the
aliens,
with their good vibes.
I only have images in my mind of the 80s ET extraterrestrial kind of waddling along the beach or something. I don't know if ET is the specific type of UFO outer space character or it's
I'm not sure.
There's
a whole kind of language and kind of culture around this whole thing, right? The aliens they call them the Greys, right, with the big eyes and things. So
that's wild.
I haven't dived that deep. So
wait, did E.T. walk on the beach in the movie?
I was just imagining what this particular event would be like.
Going to say if that's part of the movie, then maybe that's how ETs operate, and that's why they're going to Chiba for their event.
So it's like a movie reenactment.
Maybe they have BMXs. I would take a BMX if I was going to that event. I used to have a BMX when I was a student. I used to cycle to university on a BMX.
That's a bike then?
Yeah, the kind of...
Oh, that's the one that's with the basket in front where ET sits?
No.
Yeah, you do get a basket if you've got an ET, but normally BMXs don't have a basket.
Oh, so
Mine
you got
don't.
to bring ET to the shop in order for them to give you the basket.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's
You
no
need
go.
the ET edition BMX.
I think Japan's about the only place where a BMX would have a basket.
Anyway, from BMX stories to Taryn, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I kind of stumbled upon an interesting place over the weekend. So my friend and I were going to this place called Coins Bar, if you know it, in Shibuya. And we tried to go in, but it was completely full and they turned us away. But there's like this little section where there's the Coins Bar on one side and then to the left is another bar. So we just like went into the other bar instead. And at first it's like pretty nondescript. There's a couple tables up front that were too cold to use and a few tables inside that we sat at. Then next to the host stand, there's these big double doors, these big sliding double doors with this like gold writing across the section where they divide. And we go in and we sit down at a table and the doors open. And it's this other room that's 10 times the size of the bar that we're sitting in that they wouldn't let us go into. And it's like kind of, I don't know, the vibe of a love hotel in a way, because it's like they're trying a little bit too hard to come across as elegant. There's like a disingenuousness in it, like they're trying to
Tacky,
hide.
I think is the word you're looking for, right?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to hide like something seedy by being extra like sophisticated, but it just comes off as kind of gaudy. Anyway, that was the aesthetic of the room that we couldn't enter. And we started kind of like berating the host with questions, trying to figure out what's going on in that room. And it turns out that the people that can enter it have signed up online. You can sign up alone or in a group of the same sex. And you go to this place and they like arrange a date of your group and then a group of the opposite sex in even numbers. And you have like, I guess it's not like a speed date, but it's like that kind of.
So it's like a Gorkon party or something.
Yeah, it's like a
Gorkon
Gorkon party. Yeah. And that's what was going on in that room.
Splendid. So a Shibuya Love Hotel styled bar for
Kind
dating.
of, yeah. Yeah, I was very curious about it.
I like the Love Hotel aesthetic. That's one of the things. It's just that sort of kind of bubble era Japan that's still sort of existing. Not that I was here in the bubble era, but that's kind of what I imagine the bubble era was like.
That kind of over the top
Gaudy.
gaudiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
No expensive spared. Oh no,
Ice
expense
cubes
spared
from icebergs.
Yeah. Have you guys been? Maybe this is too much. Have you visited Love Hotels?
I actually once did a like a branding study on love hotels. So I toured like about 6 or 7 love hotels in Sendai. So basically, for part of this project, I had to go with someone, and we had to like go into all these rooms and kind of bounce on the bed and take photos of the decor and stuff. So I have a bit too much knowledge about love hotels.
Yeah. I actually used to write for a Love Hotels website, like a blog they had on a website trying to promote Love Hotels. So I toured one also in a business capacity. And yeah, this one manager showed us around. And he was like surprisingly awkward considering his profession.
Right.
You know? So he was just like this very shy, reserved Japanese man, but he's like managing a Love Hotel.
Well, I can't offer any salacious Love Hotel stories either, I'm afraid. I've always lived sort of not too far from the center of Tokyo, so there's never really been a pressing need to use a Love Hotel. I have stayed in one once, but that was actually when I wasn't a resident of Japan, and I missed any kind of useful train because I was staying outside of Tokyo. So I was just like using it as a normal hotel because I missed the last train.
Can you do that? You don't need to come in with like a partner?
I did have a partner.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
I wonder if that's actually a requirement that you have to go on.
I didn't like.
I feel like it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, this is a good topic, actually. We did a bit of research about this. I don't know if it's a universal rule, but, got man and women, no problem. Well, sometimes it's a little tricky if you're not Japanese. They can maybe be a bit scared of dealing with you. Maybe like certain combinations, like man, woman might be okay. Probably depends a bit. I remember there being some sort of threshold, though. If you kind of get over 5 people, then it gets a little bit complicated.
Over 5?
Interesting.
Yeah.
But like 3 or 4, they don't bat an eye?
Apparently not. Once one of my Japanese friends were explaining how like a whole group of them had missed their last train when they were kind of students, and they sort of went into love hotels in pairs and threes, and they all got in.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know about pets. Anyway, so my anecdote, my Tokyo story isn't as salacious or otherworldly as yours. Mine's more pedestrian. So I was slightly unwell recently. I caught this stomach bug that was going around. So I just want to kind of talk about my experiences going to the doctor. Just a bit of background. I've lived in a few different countries. I've been to the doctor in Germany, the UK, Vietnam, and Thailand, and Japan. And Japan is by far my favourite place.
Really?
I always enjoy going to the doctor. You know, they're always friendly. They kind of treat you like a customer more than a patient. You know, it's good sort of Japanese practice.
Do you really want Japanese practice at the doctor, though?
I know, exactly. Yeah,
okay,
it's the one scenario where I don't want to practice that.
So big asterisks here. And this is mostly for when it's, just stomach bug or whatever. I really enjoy these situations. I did break my ankle and have an operation in Japan. I still enjoyed that, though. I was trying to check myself out early, because they like to keep you in the hospital for a long time.
Oh, really?
And I didn't want to stay more than a night, and they wanted me to stay several nights. And I'd actually had an epidural, the kind of anesthetic which paralyzes your legs rather than like a general anesthetic. And I don't know, you're meant to lie down for a week afterwards, but I insisted on standing up and leaving, and they were trying to stop me, but I just sort of left.
How did you leave when your legs numbed?
Your legs come back, kind of 3 hours after the operation, but basically you've got all this kind of nasty stuff floating around your spine. And you're meant to sort of lie down, otherwise it gets into your head. And man, it was really tough getting home.
Yeah, that's a bit stupid, to be honest.
It was very stupid. And perhaps, coming back to my asterisks, perhaps for important things, it's better if you can fully understand what they're saying. So I didn't really appreciate why they wanted me to stay. I just thought it was the Japanese thing keeping me in.
Yeah, epidurals and anesthetics, they can have effects for quite a long time.
Anyway, the specific anecdote was just kind of going to the doctor, sort of no queue. I kind of sat down and waited for 2 minutes. The doctor saw me.
Wow.
He's poked around. He didn't seem to be too concerned. Gave me a prescription, and it cost something like 680 yen.
What?
Yeah.
Shit. And did you get any prescriptions also?
Yeah, that included 2 sets of pharmaceutical drugs, which I didn't
seriously,
take.
the 680 included the consultation and the medicine?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's probably the cheapest I've ever heard of. I mean, it is really cheap, but that's next level.
Well, it's basically free in the UK because of the NHS, but you might have to sort of sit in a queue or make an appointment. And anyway, let's stay focused on Tokyo. Should we transition? We're going to talk about a few events coming up in Tokyo. Please, Mr. Lane, kick off our
I'm going to
events.
talk about an event coming up over the next few weeks as we record this podcast. It's called the Komedo Tenjin Wisteria Festival, and it's at a very kind of unique shrine in eastern Tokyo. Have either of you guys been to Komedo Tenjin?
No, where is it?
Oh, it's not Komedo Tenjin. It's Komedo Shrine anyway. It's near Komedo Station, so it's kind of slightly east of Kiba, that kind of area. The really interesting thing about this shrine is it's quite different to any shrine in Tokyo. It's kind of full of ponds, and it's quite aquatic, and it's got these kind of trellises everywhere which they grow the wisteria on. It's kind of like just a really nice spring festival. There's great food, there's taiko drumming, there's little markets and things. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend it.
Marvellous. So that's what's the date for that again?
That's from April 14th until May 6th. But don't go in May because there'll still be lots of drumming and food, but you won't see the flowers.
It would be the Withered Wisteria Festival.
Yes.
Anyway, check out tokyocheapo.com for more details. I'm going to explain another event. So there's the Earth Day Festival coming up on the 20th and 21st of April. I think this is a great chance to experience the sort of hippie side of Japan. Obviously, being kind of all things Earth, it's going to be very, not bare feet because people don't go barefoot in Japan, but if it was somewhere else, there'd be plenty of bare feet and dreadlocks. There'll be kind of food there and people kind of selling eco products. But I quite like the kind of hippie experience in Japan because it really doesn't sort of suit the sort of basic Japanese culture, which is very sort of neat and organized. So you've got this kind of people who are, they're immensely sort of hippie, but in this very neat and organized way. And I find it a very interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, how does that happen? How do you be a hippie in an orderly fashion?
Well, you don't smell. You're very clean.
Okay.
I think they roll really neat joints.
Yeah, the joints are super neat.
Anyway, that's the Earth Day Festival on the Saturday and Sunday, 21st of April.
Cool. So mine is the Tokyo Rainbow Pride, which is kind of a strange date this year. It's Sunday the 28th and then Monday the 29th, because Monday's a holiday. I think it's usually like Saturday and Sunday. Have you guys ever been to the Tokyo Rainbow Pride?
I've seen it. I've seen it in passing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, there's like a parade that goes through Harajuku, and then there's the big festivities in Yoyogi Park.
I've been to Pride in Brighton in the UK.
Oh, okay.
That's something else.
Yeah, I went one of my first years in Japan, and I remember it being kind of a disappointment the first year. Like it was pretty
small when I saw it.
Small,
yeah.
And then it just exploded like in the years since. So now it's this like massive party, and that's just in the last few years. Like apparently there's other events throughout Tokyo. I just know primarily of the ones in Harajuku. It's like the main scene. But all told, it's a week-long like series of events, and literally tens of thousands of people participate with all the events included. So it's pretty crazy. So yeah, it's really fun. There's face painting. There's really ridiculous costumes, really good food, lots of drinking. Yeah, it's really fun. So I definitely recommend it. That's in Yoyogi Park. So I think the main stuff is happening that Monday in Yoyogi Park.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Marvelous. So there's 3 events for you. Obviously, check out tokyocheapo.com/events for a whole lot more. Going to take a short break and introduce our guest, Alvin. Okay, so welcome back. Pleased to welcome my good friend, Alvin Cheung.
Thanks for having me here.
So Alvin is one of the co-founders of multiple ventures, ABC Coffee, Proto, Hapnick, and Endgame Keyboards.
That's right.
So a man, with fingers in many pies. Looking forward to...
one pie too many, probably.
I'm sure they're all tasty. Thanks for joining us, firstly. But let's just kind of kick off with the basic question. How did you find yourself in Tokyo?
Right. That's the question I feel like every Japanese person seems to ask, right?
Totally.
Why are you in Japan?
Have it memorized now.
So I was born in LA. I grew up in Hong Kong and then went to the US for college and then I guess my first few years of work. And then I had a company that we had to wind down. And then it was in that period that I was like, well, do I stay in the US or do I go somewhere else?
So you had a company. You said that very quickly.
I had a company.
Let's dig into
like
that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That was, so I went to this sort of very alternative MBA program. It's called the MBA Design Strategy. And it was basically a business program held in an art school. And when we graduated, I took the team with our thesis project basically and decided to spin it out as a real legitimate San Francisco Silicon Valley style startup. Went through this accelerator. It was food delivery before food delivery became really big, essentially. Okay. So we were, I think, ahead of the game.
Cool.
Right. Because we've done all the research and we're like, look, this is coming. This is really going to be a thing.
And you were right.
Right. Just a little too early. So you learn timing is everything, but also, I guess, the evils of VC money and going for that and what that model looks like. So that sort of shaped a lot of my experience going forward now.
So it was a venture-backed startup. You went around...
we were shooting that. So basically, we had some seed and we're shooting for the venture stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You realize what type of company makes sense for venture funding. And that's not every single type of company.
Yeah.
And also, it's this whole thing with why do you want to do what you want to do? Why do you start something? And sort of just what are you spending your life on?
And so nowadays, you're not doing venture-backed companies, right?
No, not at all. So, Alphabet Coffee Club, ABC Coffee, that's bootstrapped. The keyboard, Tokyo Keyboard, which is the hardware company I'm working on right now, that's bootstrapped.
So when you say bootstrapped, break it down for us? Like, how do you get funding? How do you start?
So the idea is that, I think with all the resources and technology available today, you don't actually have a lot of startup costs. The biggest thing that you really need is your own time. And being able to work that efficiently and find the right friends to help out, you're able to get the first prototype up and going pretty easily. And I think when you're working on something, like a coffee or keyboard company, there's a very straightforward kind of business model. I can sell you coffee and you give me money versus, a lot of, I think, traditional sort of software as a service type thing where you're not sure when the money's coming in. You don't have really cash flow and you're just burning through the first few years. So definitely the scale caps a little lower than maybe a traditional sort of Silicon Valley type style thing. But in terms of just fulfillment and the number of these companies I can do, it's much better.
Yeah. So before we get too deep into your businesses, just rewind a bit and kind of just pin down a timeline. So LA, Hong Kong, California again.
In California again. So that's basically been, I guess, most of my youth now.
And the story of your first coming to Japan, how long ago was that?
That's, that's about 5 years now.
Right.
Oh, that's not that long.
It's not that long,
that's
but
like my time frame.
It goes by in a breeze.
And had you been to Japan before that?
Yeah. So my best friend in Hong Kong ended up moving to Japan. So I would come every few summers. So he used to live over in Jugoka, which is kind of funny. It's where the coffee shop is now.
Oh.
Right. And so when you first, your story of when you came to Japan, you were already sort of fairly familiar with the place, speaking Japanese?
No, not at all. My Japanese is terrible. Sort of, it never really entered my realm of things to learn or be interested in.
How did you start your company, ABC Coffee, without Japanese?
So my business partner, Kevin, he's Japanese Hawaiian. He's Japanese American technically, but it's Hawaii.
Yeah.
So
he wants that distinction,
right? So he speaks Japanese well enough, and for the most part, I think being not so Japanese has helped us, and that help us work with our vendors and partners in a very different way. And I think if we came in as a Japanese company, with probably so much more baggage and layers of how we expected to act and behave and speak.
So how exactly did it start though? You said that you basically just need to invest your own time. You don't necessarily need a lot of startup capital.
Right.
But what were some of the first things you're doing? How did you go from just having this idea to now you actually have a site that's like shipping coffee on a monthly basis? And maybe you should explain a little bit more about what the company does.
Right.
Also.
So what the company is ABC Coffee. We are a monthly coffee subscription company, and what that means is every month we send you coffee from 3 different roasters all around Japan. And it's like a magazine, but for coffee. So it rotates. And if you are into coffee, you basically get to taste what's happening, what's new, what's fresh with coffee in Japan. So, with that, there's not that much that you need. You need an online platform that can charge people money, manage a subscription, and be able to pack and ship coffee beans. And because we don't roast our own goods, we essentially distribute. So it's a lot of emailing, make sure we're connecting with roasters, and it's not a lot of hard costs that we needed. Yeah.
So when did this project start? Like, what was the day that you were like, this is something I want to do? How did that even occur to you?
This is always a less glamorous story than it sounds. I met my co-founder over yakiniku, and we were just shooting the shit. And we're like, oh, you like coffee? Oh yeah, I was thinking about that too. Huh. Okay, let's try this out and start and see how it works.
Okay. And what was the first things that you guys did?
we started the website. That's super simple these days. It's extremely fast.
You're both kind of techies, right?
Right.
Kevin's got a
So
sort of Silicon Valley background as well, right?
Right. So he's you're sort of I guess Google poster boy. He's Google marketing. Went to school at Stanford, and very much digital in that way as well. And because it's coffee, it's not a high cost. So the first few iterations, we just bought coffee retail basically and resold it,
right?
And just to see how do we validate the flow of the customer and all that stuff.
So for people who've never started a business in Japan before, I always think if somebody asks me, should I start a business in Japan, I always go, no, don't.
Why?
It's very hard, it's difficult, it's just there's all this red tape. Try and do something else unless you're really, really sure. You're making it sound quite easy. So,
well, that's the thing, because I feel like, there's 2 parts, right? There's the product, which is, you can prototype easily. And then there's the nitty gritty logistics of starting a business, which is a different ballgame. We had to incorporate and form our KK, but they wouldn't let us do it without a bank account. But we couldn't open a bank account without incorporating. So we're like, well, guys, one of you has to go first.
Yeah.
We can't, otherwise this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, it was about a month of just literally back and forth, trying to convince someone to, give us the stamp so we can get the other thing that we needed.
Yeah.
And so you need a stamp showing that you're incorporated to start the bank, to open
right.
the bank
So
account.
basically we needed them to let us incorporate so we could open the bank account.
Yeah.
Or let the bank account let us open bank account so we could incorporate. So it's sort of classic Kafka Japan bureaucracy.
I bet you don't have a fax machine though.
Well,
That's probably why.
That's probably why.
They were very suspicious.
Exactly. So, for a while, she guys looked into it. It's like, how do we get like a virtual fax machine? How could it just scans into a PDF or something?
Yeah.
But
do you actually take fax orders?
No, we don't. We made that decision. We've thought about it.
It'd probably filter down to your kind of customer, really. Like you're targeting, I guess, kind of younger,
exactly,
fax users,
international-minded people. So
right, and
not using a fax is a big part of that demographic.
I think so. I guess part of our brand that we don't use the fax machine.
ABC coffee in brackets.
Faxless. Exactly. So innovative.
So let me just dig into some of the details here. I'm interested in about how you source the roasters.
Right.
Yeah, especially at the beginning. I mean, like, how did you just go up to these local roasters and we're like, we have this company that's going to ship your stuff all over? I feel like they would be like, who are you?
Well, I think a lot of it is because we dealt exclusively with specialty grade third wave coffee. So a lot of these roasters tend to skew a little bit younger. They're more open. Kevin and I are both, we love coffee. We can talk about it pretty well. So it's not like, two schmucks walking in going, hey, bruh.
Yeah.
We sell some coffee.
So your Japanese must be better than you've made out earlier before.
Well, no, but because it's coffee, there's a shared dialogue.
Right.
There's so many of the phrases like if things are floral, fruity, acidic,
right,
roast degrees. These are kind of universal, and you can understand someone without too much of a, I guess.
Just need the special coffee roaster handshake. And
that's what it is, man. You don't
coffee
know it.
Roaster stare. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you remember the first place that you went to try to get them involved in your subscription service?
No, but I do remember one of our most early partners was this company called Light Up Coffee, and they were out in Kichijoji.
Yeah, I love this place.
Yeah, they're super amazing. And when we met them, the owner, he was like 24, and he decided to, I think, quit his job to go be a roaster. He's a super smart kid and super passionate, and we just feel like, okay, how do we support you? This is exactly the type of thing that we want more of in Tokyo, that we want to be able to throw our weight behind and make sure you're successful. It's interesting because growing up in Hong Kong, Hong Kong, I'd say arguably is much easier for small business.
Right.
But they're in and out a lot faster because the market pressures are higher.
Yeah.
Rent changes so much more in Hong Kong, and I think for landlords in Hong Kong, once they see that you're successful, they'll try and hike up the rent.
Up, yeah.
So you'll see shops pop up, they're super successful, and then they disappear because they're sort of free marketed out of possibility. But because of how slow and unchanging Japan is to a certain extent, I think it allows a lot of these really niche businesses to extend much longer than you would think financially possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we talk about Tokyo, I think is quite special.
Marvelous. Well, I'm curious to hear about one of your many other businesses, Proto. I don't actually know anything about Proto, so I'll be hearing about it for the first time.
So,
yeah, I was a little confused of what it was when I was looking online. So on, I think your Puchakucha profile page, you had the phrase, a shared space experiment housed in a soon-to-be demolished building in Utenji.
Yeah, this thing was
an
nuts.
Amazing description.
So the head of this project is this architect, visionary, young, super cool guy called Kensuke Fujishiro. He said, hey, we want to start this building. It's about kind of prototyping new lifestyles and how do we live and work and create a space together. So let's throw together a bunch of creatives and artists and architects and take over a building. And
how'd you find a building?
Well, they found it. So I think through a friend, they found this building that was going to be demolished in about 6 months. So we were able to get rent for really, really cheap.
So people were living there?
So it was this thing where it was separated in terms of openness. So the first floor it used to be a retail shop. That was an open space. Mm-hmm. The floor above that, second floor, was more of like a community lounge. The third floor was private shared office stuff. Mm-hmm. And the fourth floor actually had 2 rooms. And Kensuke and another person was living there.
Cool.
So, the idea was this sort of like gradation of open and intimacy.
Yeah.
Out of there, one of the projects I did was this project called Free Space. So it's something that started in San Francisco where they were able to take over this warehouse basically in a month, and they were able to invite artists in and do whatever you want. So they only had one operating rule, which was whatever you do here has to be free and open to everyone else.
Oh, okay.
So for our first floor, we're like, wouldn't that be an interesting thing to try in Tokyo. So we had folks coming to do body painting. We had some weird like installation workshop thing, and it was an interesting experience and also kind of a challenge.
So the artists, how would they get involved? Like how would they apply to do body paint or whatever sessions in the house?
So for us, it was just a lot of it was just word of mouth. Tokyo being Tokyo, I think everyone's connected by 6 degrees or less.
Yeah.
So, hey, we're doing this. And folks are like, cool, I want to do this thing. Well, what's up?
So someone would set up like a body paint session, and then it would be free for them to use the space to do that. And then people could like freely participate also.
Exactly. So basically, I'm doing body painting, from 10 to 4 p.m. We'll be here. Come by.
Cool. Did you get a lot of reception from people? Like
I think for the folks who are doing interesting workshops and events we did, we also got a lot of got into quite a lot of arguments with our own community and the neighbors, and it was
over what?
Just how to be, like there's a lot of things of are we going to be disturbing the neighbors if we do this sort of thing? Is it okay? Do we need to clear this with everyone first? I think so much of it is just you being early on here in Tokyo and coming with a very strong American kind of mindset and how to work and behave. You kind of realized how many, I guess, sort of social understandings you just break by doing this sort of open, free stuff.
Sounds like it was a bit of a mixed bag, this project. Would you do it again?
How long did the project last also?
It was 6 months.
Okay.
It was a good time. I would definitely, I don't know, maybe in a different form. So I have really good friends right now who run this thing called Hacker Farm out in Shiba.
Hacker Farm.
And it's this fantastic kind of hacker hippie commune where this hardware genius who's done, he does amazing work in terms of making electronics and hardware and stuff. And basically he took him and a small group of people out to this countryside place to start a hacker farm. So basically they're interested in farming, teaching electronic and making skills, and art and making cheese. So
nice.
Wow. Quite a variety.
I was just going to say, doing something like Proto in Tokyo, you might end up with scuffles with the neighbors, but one of the classic problems of Japan is the neglected countryside. This sounds like a project much more suited for the countryside with more space and more interest in bringing some sort of vitality back.
Right, and I think because of that, they've been thriving. They've been featured on NHK, I think, a few times, and it definitely is the right place to do that.
Yeah.
To MVP and prototype different ways of living. We can live as we are, but how else could we do it?
Cool. Interesting stuff. Well, you've got many projects, just only kind of scratched the surface, I think. So maybe tell us about your keyboards.
Yeah. So this started this question of, I wonder what it's like to make a piece of hardware, and it sort of somehow ended up being a business. So it started when I took a trip with the founder of the Hacker Farm to Shenzhen up in China. So Shenzhen, if you don't know, is just north of Hong Kong, and it is the, I guess, manufacturing capital of hardware and electronics.
It's one of these cities that's just popped out of nothing. There was nothing there like 20 years ago. Right.
And, basically if you're doing anything that is, electronics or smart or, IoT or whatever, it probably happened there. And it has the feeling of Silicon Valley from I remember when it was just booming. And you go there, you walk into a bar, and it's a bunch of people from around the world, and like you can just, what are you working on? And I remember going there, the guy's like, oh, I'm working on this $1 microscope, I'm working on the smartwatch, and the atmosphere is electric, right? And it's dirty, it's gritty, and everyone's just making stuff to try and figure out, not just what's next, but what's fun.
Sounding a bit like a Blade Runner.
It's completely like Blade Runner, where when we took a tour, you'd see the most high tech piece of equipment. So we saw these water jet cutters, computer controlled high tech stuff.
Water jet cutters,
right? So basically, it uses high pressure water to cut steel.
Wow,
cool.
It's pretty cool stuff. It's sitting in this garage, like a brick garage with half the wall torn down, and on like a dirt floor. So it's this juxtaposition of like almost third world. Broken infrastructure, decrepitude, but high tech. Everyone there rides an electric bicycle, but they're all broken and dirty.
Are there replicants?
Oh, I don't know, because have you been to Shenzhen?
I've been to Hong Kong. I haven't dared to head over to Shenzhen.
China is so cashless now. If they're folks, they're beggars essentially, right? Who have a QR code on their chest to ask for money. Because if you give them cash, I'm sure like why are you giving me cash?
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It really is this next level dystopian technology thing, right? And anyways, I got really inspired by that vibe and energy, and I realized that so this project started as this idea of, okay, how can I learn how to do electronics and then take it through to market and learn how to do this small scale production and put a tangible piece of hardware in someone's hands.
So do you have a background fiddling with technology and making keyboards?
No, so I've done software stuff. So I basically taught myself how to design electronics, did that, and do 3D modeling, and that was maybe over the course of 6 months, and it was surprisingly easy. It just because of the tools becoming more accessible and free, and having there be an abundance of ways to learn. You realize that this is not out of reach anymore, right? I can go from zero to making a keyboard within a year.
So I had visions of you having one of those old IBM kind of what's it called, those mechanical keyboards, maybe like some kind of touch keyboard thing. It's kind of whole library of things in your garage. But,
oh my gosh, my wife was when I was just getting into this, my wife was like, what are you living in junk right now? I had the old IBM keyboard, I had the original Apple keyboard,
right?
I had like here's the design library. But they're just old grungy tech. So I'm also the co-host of the Tokyo Mechanical Keyboard Meetup, and there's a whole community of us.
It sounds so niche, but
well, you'd think it's super niche, but I went to the one in the Bay Area. There was 400 or 500 people there.
Wow.
It was engineers, it was designers, and for some reason a bunch of like hype beast kids. So like kids who were really into streetwear. So like. It's like 3 groups of people who really should not be hanging out together.
Yeah.
Joined together by mechanical keyboards.
Joined together to start poking each other's, keys.
Just that visceral enjoyment is something everyone can really do.
And, that was really fun and exciting. That's one of the things that kicked me off on the side. Oh, great. This is cool. What does a keyboard company look like as a lifestyle brand, or more like a fashion thing, where the main reason you're buying this thing is for emotional appeal and aesthetics, not for its technical features. Mm-hmm. Whereas something like Apple and I guess Microsoft, it's all about how do you make this thing the most efficient, the most minimal, slimmer, faster, better. But these aren't really human qualities, right? And keyboard isn't going to get any faster or more wireless, or it has nothing to do with technical feature innovation that's really going to move the needle, right? So in that sense, I feel it's a nice platform to sort of explore how to do this a little bit differently.
So maybe tell us about some examples of endgame keyboards.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There's this keyboard called the M60A. It's by this I guess notorious keyboard designer called Rama. He's based out of Melbourne, Australia.
There are notorious keyboard designers.
Yeah.
There's
a whole like design community out here, just
for just keyboards.
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's also the name of an assault rifle, I believe. M60.
Yes, it is a heavy machine gun.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very specific knowledge.
Well, you knew it was a heavy machine gun. I got it wrong. That's assault rifle.
Alvin's patting himself in the back.
Right? I know, nerd cred. And this thing is beautiful. Where this, he makes very limited quantities to very high machining and finish aspect. And these things are heavy. They're partly aluminum. They're part brass, and they're just gorgeous to look at. They start at maybe $450, and probably if you go all the way, it's probably about $1,000 US.
And how much do they weigh? Is it similar to a heavy machine gun?
Yeah, it's about a kilo.
The M60 of keyboards.
Yeah, so my keyboard weighs 777 grams put all together. Normally they go for several kilos.
Wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a photo a friend of mine tweeted of some Portland cafe. Some bearded chap sat next to him who'd brought a whole fucking typewriter into the cafe. He sat there with the typewriter.
How old is this guy?
I don't know.
Probably too young to actually have a typewriter from its heyday.
Yeah, he wasn't of the age where he would have had a typewriter as a child or something. So.
Well, I actually did have a typewriter as a kid, though. I mean, it was my dad's, but I used it and it was there.
Was it electronic or was it actually fully analog?
It must have been electronic. Well, it was
You're showing up your lack of typewriter knowledge.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty embarrassing. Actually, yeah, I don't remember. It was just, I mean, it was this massively clunky thing sitting on a corner of his desk. And I don't know, I guess it was, well, okay, break it down for me. What would be an analog versus electronic?
So the full old school analog ones where it's kind of like piano, where you hit it and it has this arm
it
hammer.
was that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comes out.
Because there's other ones.
What's an electric one then?
It's the most famous ones were made by IBM.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it has this ball on there with all the letters engraved into the ball. And as you're hitting the letter, it'll spin to the right letter and just hammer your piece of paper.
Wow, that's pretty amazing technology.
And it's
Interesting.
loud. So you tap it and just bam, bam, bam.
Right.
It's really.
But that's what all the
cathartic
typewriters
to
are
write
like. That bam, bam, bam.
But it's like, whereas the other one, I think because it has that parabolic motion, it's much more. It's like a piano.
Okay.
This thing is much. It's like you're hitting a switch and the motor is going.
Okay.
Yeah.
It must have been analog then. The parabolic motion sounds more familiar. I wonder where that is now. It's probably thrown out.
Or in Portland.
Yeah, that guy stole it. Yeah, it got recycled over there.
So I guess we can buy Endgame keyboards online.
You can buy Endgame keyboards online.
So are you the main person behind that? Do you also have a partner for that project?
No, I'm the only person behind
The
this.
only person behind
This is
it.
a little bit crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Alvin is Endgame keyboards. So we should probably bring this to a close. Despite you having fingers in lots of pies, is there like sort of one place we can steer everybody to find out more about you and your projects, or do we have to list them all?
Well, I guess follow me on Instagram. It's at ALVNCO. Probably cover a lot of what's going on there. But it's probably the best way since I have too many pies.
Well, those pies are ABC Coffee, Hapnick,
And Tokyo
Endgame keyboards.
Yep.
That's the main things. Well,
I
we'll
think you
put
need to start a pie company now.
Yeah. We can just make that the episode title. Too many pies.
Well, if you guys want to help MVP it, let me know.
You could
Yeah.
serve the pies in the ABC Coffee Cafe in Giogaoka.
I could.
There you go.
There you go.
That's business.
Only we would understand why there are pies there, but
Well,
it's okay.
I feel like Tokyo has been missing like a Cornish pasty kind of place. So
Yeah, pies would go down well.
There actually is a pie and coffee place in Shibuya near
Oh, yeah?
Shibuya. No, sorry, it's near Harajuku. And that's exclusively what it has is like various pies. Meat pies, sweet pies, and coffee.
Steak and kidney pie.
I think they have something similar to that.
What blew me away actually was pies. A Georgie pie from McDonald's in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, you have to try this thing. I'm like, it's a McDonald's pie. How good can it be? And you take a bite into it, like, oh, okay.
Wait, it's called Georgie pie, but it's a McDonald's pie?
And maybe Greg, you can clarify this.
It used to be it's like a standalone chain of like fast food places in New Zealand. It's actually, I mean the pie is an institution in New Zealand, so it's kind of.
Wait, it's where does McDonald's factor in? Do they?
I don't know.
Sold
Did
at
they own it or
McDonald's?
something?
I don't know. I mean, they called it the Georgie pie, so I don't know if they bought the company, but
Okay.
everyone's like,
But it's sold at McDonald's.
It's sold at
so
McDonald's.
I can go to McDonald's right now and get a Georgie
Right.
pie.
So
in
if
Tokyo?
you're in New Zealand,
maybe that's the revival.
Oh, in New
If you go to
Zealand.
New Zealand, you have to skip all
I'm
the other
going to New
terrible
Zealand,
stuff.
so
Man, I've
First
ruined
up.
my New Zealand cred.
this is what Greg recommended for New Zealand. Go to McDonald's first
exactly.
thing.
So on that note, ending on McDonald's, I think that's a sign we've finished
Okay.
our conversation. So thanks for joining us, ladies, gentlemen, and cheapos. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with a new guest. Splendid. And thank you for Alvin. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
for having me.
Alvin.
Alvin.